Welcome, folks. Gather around because today we are witnessing yet another historic meltdown from the fine ladies at The View, a show that should honestly be classified as a FEMA disaster site at this point. Yes, Trump derangement syndrome is back in full swing. And this time, it's got Rosie O'Donnell packing her bags and heading for the rolling green hills of Ireland because, you know, America is just too dangerous for multimillionaires these days. Meanwhile, Joy Behar and company are frothing at the mouth, still trying to solve the great mystery of why Trump doesn't like Rosie. Probably somewhere between 2006 and that time she called him bankrupt on live TV. And of course, they throw in a little Trump is a toddler line because nothing says mature political analysis like calling the sitting president a poopy head. So buckle up because we're about to dive into the latest episode of The View's never-ending therapy session, where the real crisis isn't Trump, it's the absolute state of the modern left.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question.
Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell?
No.
Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
You're better off not knowing.
Oh, no, he's going to be mad at Ireland now. Here comes the potato tariff. Why can't Trump let this go? This has been years now. He's still got it, as the Italians go, over here for Rosie O'Donnell.
Can you remind us what it is that she said about him or did to him? Because it's almost like, you know, he's a toddler. His frontal lobe is not really fully developed, in my opinion. And so he probably suffers from that imposter syndrome. And maybe she did something that called him out on it.
Well, if you watch the clip, she basically flipped her hair, which he didn't care. I used to play with around with
this. This was what year? This was way before he was president.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Let's see.
2006, I'm
I
being
was like
told
25.
in my ear.
No.
So she made a hair joke?
She flipped the hair. He didn't really care about that. It was the money, in my opinion.
Oh.
She was saying how many times he was bankrupted and blah, blah, blah.
Well,
and
he's not a real billionaire.
Well, that's...
Or he wasn't. He wasn't.
She called him out on it, and he freaked out, and he was so vicious to her on every station. People would take his phone calls in every station, MSNBC, CNN, everywhere he went, even here.
Well, so she spoke truth.
And
she saw through him.
Her in that.
All right, let's break down The View's latest entry into the Hall of Fame for the worst political takes in history. Once again, we've got the usual suspects, Joy Behar, Anna Navarro, Sonny Hostin, and the rest of the daytime soap opera ensemble, engaging in what can only be described as the intellectual equivalent of a car wreck in slow motion. The topic, Rosie O'Donnell, self-exile to Ireland, and Trump's supposed lifelong obsession with her. But as usual, the ladies of The View serve up a buffet of projection, revisionist history, and the kind of logic that would make a freshman philosophy professor weep. First up, Joy Behar asks, why can't Trump let this go? Oh, the irony. This is coming from the same people who bring up Trump every single day, like he's Beetlejuice and they're desperate for a headline. Trump is sitting in the Oval Office, cracking a harmless joke about Rosie O'Donnell after Ireland's own prime minister didn't even know who the hell she was. And somehow The View turns it into a national crisis. Meanwhile, they're still rehashing a feud from 2006 like it's a family heirloom. If anyone can't let it go, it's them. But hey, self-awareness isn't exactly the strong suit. Then we've got the pseudopsychology from Sonny Hostin diagnosing Trump with imposter syndrome and implying he has the brain development of a toddler. Ah yes, classic View strategy. When you can't argue against his policies, just call him stupid, because nothing screams well-reasoned political analysis like a grown woman in her 50s calling the sitting president a big baby. But let's talk about the actual logic here. If Trump had imposter syndrome, he wouldn't have built $1 billion empire, won the presidency twice, and reshaped the entire Republican Party. Imposters usually crumble under pressure. Trump thrives in it. And let's be real for a second. Rosie O'Donnell's move to Ireland isn't some brave act of defiance against tyranny. It's just another Hollywood elite running to another country because they can afford to. Notice how she's not running to Cuba or Venezuela despite all the virtue signaling about socialism? Nope. She picked Ireland, a country where she can live in luxury while pretending she's oppressed. And of course, she'll probably keep collecting checks from American networks while claiming the country isn't safe for her. Because when celebrities flee America, they never actually leave the American economy, now do they? And let's address this whole Trump was so vicious to Rosie narrative. First of all, The original feud started when Rosie, on national television, went on an unhinged rant calling Trump a snake oil salesman and mocking his businesses. That wasn't speaking truth. That was just trash talk. And when Trump responded, oh no, now he's the bully, because in leftist logic, they can throw the first punch, but if you hit back, you're the bad guy. The media loves to pretend that Rosie was some innocent victim, but let's be clear. She was the one launching attacks first. Trump just did what Trump does. He clapped back harder. And then we get Joy's grand revelation that Trump has always had it out for Rosie. Yes, it's not that he defends himself when attacked. It's definitely not that The View and the entire mainstream media have spent decades making him their favorite punching bag. No, it's all because he just really hates Rosie O'Donnell. Sure, Joy. This entire segment is nothing more than a therapy session for people who still can't process that their entire political worldview got rejected not once but twice by the American electorate. Trump won, Trump is back, and The View is still running the same tired script from 2016, as if they haven't learned a single thing. The only difference now, they've cranked up the melodrama because they have nothing else left to offer but hysteria.
You know, I was actually, I was at
That's
that Republican debate. It was the first debate of the 2016 primary. It was in Cleveland, at the place where the Cleveland Cavaliers play.
Good job.
And wow, Megyn Kelly asks the question, you know, you call women fat slobs. I don't know if we have the clip. And he says, yes, but that's just Rosie O'Donnell. And I remember so vividly because the entire place erupted in laughter. It was full of people. And my phone, I had it on my lap on silent. My phone vibrated and I looked down and it was Rosie. Mm-hmm. And she was texting me and she said, I am watching this debate with my kids so they learn about American government. How do I explain this to them?
Wow.
Yeah, right.
And so, you know, look.
And what'd you say to her?
The hell am I going to say to her at that point? It's like, I'm sorry. I was mortified that had happened. I said, I'm sorry. I don't have an explanation for how you explain it to your kids.
That was some terrific political fan fiction from Ana Navarro. Once again, The View delivers the kind of melodrama that would make a soap opera blush. This time, Navarro spins a tear-jerking tale of how she personally was emotionally devastated by Trump's 2016 debate zinger about Rosie O'Donnell. According to Anna, she was sitting there, phone in lap, when, gasp, a text from Rosie O'Donnell appeared. Seconds after Trump cracked the joke about Rosie. And what did this brave, persecuted, multi-millionaire actress say? That she was watching the debate with her children to learn about American democracy, only to be cruelly blindsided by a joke at her expense. Now, let's be real. This entire story has all the hallmarks of a manufactured saw piece. First off, Anna makes it sound like Trump took a flamethrower to O'Donnell's entire existence. In reality, Megyn Kelly pressed them about allegedly calling women fat slobs, and Trump, without missing a beat, quipped, only Rosie O'Donnell. That's it. That's the joke. And for that, Navarro spins this as if it was some national tragedy. Meanwhile, these same women routinely mock Trump's weight, hair, skin color, speech patterns, intelligence, like basically everything about him, and even the First Lady, and everything else under the sun about Republicans and everything that they're trying to do. But when Trump fires back, oh no, but think about the children. Then there's the perfectly timed text message. You mean to tell me that Rosie O'Donnell, who has been openly feuding with Trump for years, was so utterly shattered by this moment that she had to immediately text Ana Navarro mid-debate about how to explain this to her kids? And we're supposed to believe that Navarro had no clue how to respond? As if she'd just witnessed a national tragedy unfold? Come on, give us a break. The only thing missing from the story is Anna dramatically whispering, and then everyone in the stadium clapped. Let's also examine the sheer hypocrisy of this entire narrative. Anna claims she was mortified and didn't know how to explain Trump's comment to children. But this is the same View panel that has spent years making crude, nasty, and personal attacks on people they don't like. Trump being target numero uno. They mock his appearance, they call him a baby, a toddler. I mean, we just saw moments ago where Sonny Hostin was saying that his brain isn't fully developed yet. And they accuse him of everything short of summoning hurricanes. But when Trump makes a joke, one that, let's be honest, wasn't even that brutal and was actually hilarious, it's suddenly a teachable moment on the horrors of bullying. And let's talk about Rosie O'Donnell for a second. This is not some fragile, innocent victim. This is a woman who has built a career on being brash, controversial, and outright nasty when it suits her. She's the one who went on television first in 2006 and called Trump a snake oil salesman and mocked his businesses. Trump responded. And now, nearly 2 decades later, we're still pretending she was an innocent bystander caught in the crossfire. Please. If Rosie O'Donnell was so horrified that night, maybe she should have thought about that before she spent years going after Trump unprovoked. And yet, here we are, 9 years into the debate, and The View is still crying about it, acting like Trump torched Rosie's house and kicked her dog. They just can't quit him. Even when he's sitting in the Oval Office handling actual policy, they're still obsessing over a single joke from 2016. That was literally almost a decade ago. If anyone has the unhealthy fixation here, it's not Trump. It's them.
The judge had a written order that said these 5 people can't be removed right now. It wasn't until this flight was already in international waters, heading down to El Salvador, that the judge made some comment about returning the flights. We're already in international waters. We're outside the borders of the United States. I'm the border czar. Once you're outside the border, you know, it is what it is. Every day, the men and women of ICE are going to be in the neighborhoods of this nation arresting criminal, illegal alien, public safety threats, and national security threats. Lawrence, you're not going to stop us. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
So,
hell yeah.
Is this defying a judge's orders a constitutional crisis? And were these people that they deported already in jail, or were they people that they picked up? It's part of the problem, I think, for many people is you do stuff and nobody has any idea what's going on, you know? So because you have swept up many people in ICE who had no business being swept up. You swept up people who had no names, who are American citizens, and you don't pay attention to that. So people are saying, what is happening? And why are we paying to send the people elsewhere?
The View once again proving that daytime television is where facts go to die. This time, they're melting down over border czar Tom Homan's latest operation, deporting nearly 300 illegal alien criminals, many of whom are gang members, straight to a high-security prison in El Salvador. That's right. These aren't your friendly neighborhood undocumented immigrants just trying to make an honest living. These are hardened criminals, Tren de Aragua, MS-13 members, drug traffickers, and repeat offenders who had been convicted of serious crimes right here in the United States. And yet, The View acts like we're tossing grandmothers out of airplanes. Now let's start with Whoopi Goldberg's confused rambling about constitutional crisis. When you break the law, you face consequences. But apparently, The View's panel can't grasp this basic concept. Instead, they throw out vague hysteria about how no one knows what's going on, as if ICE is out here rounding people up at random. No, Whoopi. The people panicking are you and your friends in the media sitting in your cushy studios pretending like there's something shady going on when everything is quite literally playing out in front of the cameras, so we can all witness how Trump's administration is actually enforcing immigration law for once. Then there's the predictable crocodile tears about innocent people getting caught up in these sweeps. Classic bait and switch. Instead of acknowledging that ICE is deporting dangerous criminals, they pivot to the tired, but what about the innocent ones argument without providing a single shred of evidence that any innocent people were actually deported. Because there isn't any. ICE operations don't involve flipping a coin and seeing who gets to stay. These are targeted arrests based on criminal records, national security risks, and court-issued removal orders. But sure, let's pretend Tom Homan is out here kicking down doors at random just for fun. Now let's talk about the real legal question here. The judge's order, was it ignored? No. It was issued after the deportation flight was already in international airspace, meaning Homan and ICE followed the law to the letter. These criminals were already gone before some activist judge tried to swoop in last minute and block the deportations. But because Homan refuses to bow to the left's constant judicial interference, the media is clutching their pearls, acting like we've entered a constitutional crisis. The real crisis, that a judge even tried to overrule an operation that was already legally set in motion by the executive. executive. Funny how they never question Biden's blatant defiance of court orders, like when he kept pushing illegal student loan bailouts even after the Supreme Court smacked them down. And then there's a cherry on top, this ridiculous line about why are we paying to send people elsewhere? Whoopi, let me explain this real slow for you. We're not just paying to send them elsewhere. We're making sure violent criminals and gang members who are in America illegally end up behind bars in a high-security prison in El Salvador instead of running loose on our U.S. streets. And let's talk about numbers here for a second. The U.S. currently spends an average of $45,000 to $50,000 per inmate per year to house criminals in our prison system. In states like California and New York, that number skyrockets to over $80,000 per inmate per year. Meanwhile, El Salvador's high-security prison system is detaining these criminals for around $25,000 per year per person, nearly half the cost of keeping them locked up anywhere outside of New York and California in the United States. Now, let's zoom out. Illegal immigration already costs U.S. taxpayers over $150 billion annually, covering everything from law enforcement and incarceration to healthcare and welfare. Deporting 300 illegal alien criminals, many of them gang members, saves taxpayers millions in incarceration costs alone. That's before even factoring in the savings from reduced crime, fewer law enforcement resources wasted on rearresting repeat offenders, and the long-term economic burden of housing these individuals in an already overcrowded U.S. prison system. So yes, the United States is paying roughly $6 million per year to have these criminals locked up in El Salvador, but that's a bargain compared to keeping them in America, where they would drain at least double the amount from taxpayers every single year. But sure, let's pretend the real problem is America enforcing its own laws instead of criminals flooding across the border and then committing multiple crimes and seeing absolutely no consequences from our beautiful sanctuary cities. At the end of the day, this entire segment is just another viewsaster, a confused, incoherent attempt to make illegal alien criminals look like victims while completely ignoring actual victims of their crimes. But here's the bottom line. Tom Homan is doing his job. ICE is doing their job. The only people who aren't doing their jobs, the media, who are too busy pushing false narratives instead of telling the actual truth.
You just got to keep your eyes open, y'all. Because if they can just come up and take somebody because they've made a decision that you're supposed to be that person, any one of us could find ourselves being deported to some country.
Don't give them any ideas, girl.
Well, listen, you know, it is very clear to me that if we don't continue to say, listen, I understand you want to clean out all the bad stuff. I get it. But why do you now have access to my personal information? I get what the things you're trying to do. I don't understand why you're taking my stuff, not my personally, but each and every one of you.
And your constitutional
and
right
your
to free
constitutional
speech.
rights of free speech, which, you know, everybody says, you never let us say anything. We're, conservatives. And in fact, you're doing the same thing you are accusing everyone else of doing. And you're doing it in a way we've never seen before, because very few people have kept you from speaking out.
Shout out to Whoopi Goldberg for the totally rational take. This time, she's implying that she's about to be deported. That's right. According to Whoopi, Tom Homan rounding up illegal alien criminals and sending them back to a high-security prison in El Salvador somehow means that she, a U.S. citizen, might wake up one day and find herself deported to a mystery country. Let's break down just how brain dead this claim is. First off, Whoopi, let's start with the basics. You cannot be deported if you are a U.S. citizen. That's just not how any of this works. This entire panic attack is based on a straw man argument so ridiculous it might as well be wearing a scarecrow costume. The only people facing deportation under Homan's directive are illegal aliens who have committed crimes, not random celebrities who can't form a coherent sentence on live television. But leave it to The View to take a law enforcement operation targeting actual criminals and spin it into a paranoid fever dream where they're next on the chopping block. Then we get the classic emotional appeal. She says, if they can just come up and take somebody because they've made a decision, any one of us could find ourselves being deported. Really, Whoopi? Any one of us? That's fear-mongering 101. No, any one of us cannot just be deported, unless, of course, we've entered the country illegally or committed serious crimes while being here illegally. Or even being here legally, Being here illegally doesn't mean that you are essentially exonerated from consequences from having your visa revoked. Now, what Whoopi is doing here is blurring the lines between illegal aliens and legal citizens, a common left-wing rhetorical trick designed to make enforcing immigration laws sound like some dystopian crackdown. And then she moves to some vague rambling about how the government now has access to her personal information. What exactly is she talking about here? Immigration authorities have always had access to records of non-citizens. That's literally part of their job. But Whoopi wants her audience to believe that ICE is secretly digging through her personal files, just waiting for the chance to ship her off to another country. This is peak paranoia, folks. What country would they even deport Whoopi to? Fantasy Island? And here's the real kicker. Whoopi is ranting about government overreach and the supposed invasion of her personal data, but where was this energy when Obama was expanding the mass surveillance state? Under his administration, the NSA ramped up its data collection on American citizens, scooping up phone records, emails, and metadata on a scale never seen before. And let's not forget, Obama also deported more illegal immigrants than any president in U.S. history. Over 3 million people, that's right. The very same political party she shills for was running the most aggressive deportation machine in modern history, all while spying on law-abiding Americans. But now with Trump back in office, suddenly enforcing immigration law is a dystopian nightmare, and Whoopi thinks ICE is going through her files. Give me a break. If she's so concerned about government power, maybe she should start by looking at the people she's been cheerleading for the last decade. And then, of course, the constitutional rights argument gets thrown in for good measure. Apparently, enforcing immigration laws is now a violation of the First Amendment. According to Whoopi, conservatives are doing the exact same thing. They've accused the left of silencing people, violating free speech, and wielding government power in unprecedented ways. Here's the problem. No one's free speech is being violated here. Deporting illegal immigrants has absolutely nothing to do with free speech. It's about law enforcement. But as always, the view conflates law-breaking with victimhood and pretends that stopping criminals is the same as political persecution. This entire meltdown is nothing more than a desperate attempt to frame common-sense immigration enforcement as some authoritarian nightmare. But the reality, Whoopi Goldberg is in absolutely zero danger of deportation. The only people worried right now are illegal alien criminals. And if that's who The View wants to stand up for, maybe they should just say it outright instead of hiding behind fake constitutional crises and virtue signaling. Look, at the end of the day, this isn't just about Whoopi Goldberg's incoherent rambling or The View's latest meltdown. It's about the deeper rot in how we discuss immigration law and even reality itself. How do we get to a point where enforcing basic laws is framed as tyranny, where criminal deportations are twisted into human rights violations, and where millionaire celebrities pretend they're one government memo away from exile? The real question isn't whether Whoopi Goldberg will be deported. It's why the left insists on gaslighting the public into believing that cracking down on illegal alien criminals is a threat to everyday Americans. If their entire argument rests on hysteria, exaggeration, and outright misinformation, what does that tell you about their real agenda? If they can make you doubt something as simple as border enforcement, what else are they trying to convince you isn't real? You tell me what you think in the comments down below. Have a terrific day. Peace.